Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's July the 9th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and really, uh, really good day today. Typical channel. I'm sorry, typical trading range. There's some nice trends up and down both ways, and if you just follow the price action, it was fairly standard today. I love these kind of days. I really do. I just can't do a chart lesson without the phone ringing. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. The words kind of gotten out not to bother me before noon, and now when noon hits, my phone goes crazy. So I apologize, but hopefully we can get through this thing. Um, let's see here. We were talking about the range. I love these kind of days, especially when the range is wider like this, so that there's enough room to get a little trend between directions. It just makes it so much easier. And it was pretty straightforward. And when you got here, and this is fairly typical of FOMC type day. Obviously, there was FOMC minutes that came out at 1 o'clock today, or right around that time, Central Standard Time. And you can see that people get nervous and they just kind of wait to see what's going to happen. And the news, you can see when the news hit, it got real volatile, dropped down, got that little trap right down here at the previous lows, and boy, that was the move of the day right there. And it took off like crazy. And it wasn't, you didn't have to know what the news was going to be. All you had to do was know where the range highs and lows were. And if we got a little trap or a bounce right here, it's probably a good place to enter. And you don't know that it's going to take off like that, but you know it's probably good for a scalp because it's bounced here every single time. And plus it's a failed break out of this range. Look at this range going here, the little smaller, uh, what I call the FOMC news range, and then we failed out the high side, failed out the low side, and took off. And we traded up into this, so the bias is really kind of upwards, and you see it took off to the upside. And it's fairly simple, and there's really an entry here. There's no break of this channel yet, so that's the reason I didn't mark that one. You're better off to wait on the second entry. And you actually got a second entry here, but I don't like that setup. But when it turned down and turned back up, then it looks good. But anyway, I just did want to make that comment. And I have gotten, I still get the emails where people are struggling and they just haven't gotten it yet, or they're still fighting their own inner demons, that kind of thing. But it's been a little refreshing lately as to how many emails that I've gotten from people talking about how much their trading has improved. So I'm excited about that. And it may be that we've always had people, and, generally you hear more from the naysayers than you do the people that are having success. The people that are having success are busy trading and enjoying their success, and they're the ones that are less likely to drop you a note and tell you things. But it seems like a lot of people have, and I appreciate the people that do send me those notes. I like to see them. I like to share them with others, but I'm getting some of those lately. I guess just to say I'm getting more of those lately than I have. But we've been doing this a long time now, and some of you have been with me a long time, so maybe some of you are just starting to get it. But I want to say this, and I've said this before, but I don't know if people always hear it or people always get the right message. But before I do the chart lesson, I'm going to say this and take away from it what fits to you or what pertains to you. And if it doesn't fit you, then that's okay. If you don't get it, then that's okay too. But I believe. I guess first I want to say is don't listen to the naysayers. Don't be one of the people that says, this can't be done. Don't listen to those people. Don't listen to them. If you want to do this, I believe that we create our own destiny, so to speak. If you believe that something can be done and you're willing to put the effort in, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish. And you think about some of the most successful people. Everybody has somebody that comes to mind. There's a lot of successful people out there. If you think about the Waltons with Walmart, you think about Microsoft, you think about Donald Trump. There's just a lot of people out there that if you think about that are successful, Why are they successful? Sometimes it's because they're smarter than other people, but generally they're not, it's not because they have some information that other people don't have. The difference is that they have an idea and they believe in it and they stick to it and they follow through on it. That's the real difference between the haves and the have-nots. And a lot of people think that they're not smart enough or whatever. I'm just a good old boy from Mississippi. I've got a college degree. But if you hear me talk, you probably just think I'm some old country boy from Mississippi, which I am. I grew up in Mississippi. I graduated from a Mississippi um, school system. If you go look at any of the statistics, they'll tell you this we're the worst school system in the nation. And but I graduated from it, and uh, but I believed in myself, and I believed in anything that I chose to do, and eventually I was successful at it. So believe it's all a belief system. So if you want to believe the people that say this can't be done, and you want to think that it can't be done, then you're probably gonna get exactly what you're expecting there, and it's probably you're not going to be successful, and it's probably not going to be done. But if you want to be different and you want to be one of the few that succeed, just don't give up and don't listen to the naysayers. At the very least, just don't listen to them and keep working at it and see what happens. See where life takes you. See where this takes you. See whatever your dream. It may not even be trading. Your dream might be something different. And the reason this came up is because I've gotten a couple of different things lately of, you always get the naysayers that, this doesn't work. It can't be done. You can't do this. You can't do that. All these old, you know, supposedly written in stone rules about trading. I get those over and over. I don't even read them anymore for the most part. I'll read it, and if it's heading down that road, I usually don't even finish it. I just delete it. Uh, but I've gotten some of those lately. But then on the other hand, I got a note from a guy today. I don't remember how he worded it, but that's what made me think about this and made me want to say this. But he basically said something to the effect that he was asking me. He's heard me talk about that I invest in real estate, and that's another one. I'm an investor. I'm not just a day trader. I'm an investor. I invest in a lot of things. And he asked me about, and I've mentioned my real estate that I'm a real estate investor before, and he asked me about that. And when he came back later and says, "Hey, good for you. You're living the dream." He says, I hope I can one day." And so that's what prompted this conversation. And so I thought it would be something worth mentioning today. But if you want to be successful at anything, doesn't matter whether it's trading, real estate, uh, sports, uh, whatever. If you just want to be a professional juggler, if you want to be, you can be the best at it. But it's hard work, it's dedication, and it's being different. It's walking a different path than the average person. The average person doesn't succeed because they don't think they can. They think there's something that other people that do succeed have that they don't have. It's so mental, and that's why I want to talk about it, because it really does tie into trading. So much of what we do here is mental. And if you believe right up front that you can't be successful, you're probably not going to be successful, because you get what you want out of it. Um, and if what you want is to be unsuccessful, that's probably what's going to happen to you. And so just keep that in mind. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's really important. And you can take, like I said, take away from that what applies to you or what you feel like is important to you. And if none of it is, that's okay too. I'm not a psychologist or someone that understands all that stuff, but I do believe, based on my experience of what I've heard in life and from uh, my experience day trading, that they all tie in together and they're all part of one another. And I've been blessed, I really have, and I don't hide that fact. And but if you want to be blessed, figure out what you want to do in life, start down that path, and just keep on hacking through the jungle until you get to the other side. No matter what anybody tells you, no matter how many potholes you step in, no matter how many rivers you have to cross, or how many huge trees you got to chop down along the way, just keep chopping and keep heading, and eventually you're going to get to the other side. And if you believe that, that's what's going to happen. And I believe that with all my heart. And so anyway, let's move on to the chart lesson. And I apologize that, sometimes I feel, I get on my soapbox and, I feel stupid afterwards, but I think it applies to just what we're doing here and the people that come here. And, some people come here to make trouble. And some people come here because they truly are on that journey, hacking through the jungle, and they want to get to the other side. They want to get to the opening and be successful. And so if you do, just keep on hacking and keep on trucking. And don't let anybody tell you it can't be done. Don't let anybody tell you there's not a light or an opening on the other side of this jungle, because there is. And it's not easy to get there, and not everybody will succeed. But the ones that do, it'll be because they persevered and they hung in there and they walked to a different drummer and they didn't listen to the naysayers and the failures, and they did their own thing, and eventually they got there. So anyway, off to the chart lesson. I drew this line off the lows and I kind of moved it up here. It looked like it was fitting really well here, but we've kind of pushed on through that a couple of times. Doesn't mean that's not the highs, but we may be headed up to maybe here. We may have gotten there, maybe there. That would be my second option if this is definitely a bigger channel here. It doesn't really matter. There's not enough here to trade off of. It just would be right up in here might be an area to look for it to reverse back down if it is valid. But it's not really needed. It's late in the day. It's almost 2:30. You're not going to be taking any more trades anyway. But I just wanted to show that because that's how we do this. And that's how we'll sometimes find the bigger channel and things like that. But really all you needed was this channel and your trend lines off this channel all day. That's all you needed. And, early on it looked like there was going to be a channel working up here. This is probably more like right here after the fact, but early on that's where I had it right there. And actually I had it a little bit higher because I used that bounce right there, and that does fit across the top. But after it's all said and done, I believe that to be the low right across there, and that would have actually helped you right here to better understand this setup to the short side. But I'll talk about that when we get there. But anyway, we had this big move up. It looked like there wasn't much happening in the overnight, and we had a little failed break lower. And that's how they love to set up rallies, is I guarantee there were a lot of people that probably went short. This is real early, so there probably weren't a lot of people trading, but I guarantee there were people trading that went short right there, and they got trapped at the low of the day, and then they use that trap to push it higher. And it runs up, and then look at this. There's two legs back to the trend line, which again I had right in here. I originally had it right there, and as that one drew, as this one turned here, I just slid it up like so. But after the fact, I really still say it's right there. It's right off those closes up through there. You just kind of overshot it right there, and that's common in the overnight. That'll happen. So, but anyway, there's two legs back, and there's actually a little push up there. There's actually a second entry long right there. But hopefully you realize why you don't go long there, because it's a bearish bar. There's 1, 2, 3 bars stacked up. You just had a big push up. You're not back to the EMA yet. You're not back to any possible trend line. That would have been the only other logical place for it right there if you didn't start right here, which is where it makes sense to start. But I believe in the end it was right up through there. Of course, it's easier to see after the fact. So you gotta kind of understand what's going on and understand price and have some experience basically at this, is what I'm saying, before you get to where you can kind of judge this stuff. And it's always possible too that it's not possible, but there's a shorter term little channel right here. So you could have played that one as well, and you can see that's obvious right there. And you got the break, moved to a new high, and then you sold off. So that may be all there is to it right there. But when we bounced here and you got these 3 bounces off the top, you can't ignore the bigger one as well. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, 2 legs back. The main thing I liked about this is you had all these matching lows. You got that little failed break lower, and it closes on its very high. Even though that looks like a doji, that takes a lot of work to trade down in and then close all the way back up. That's a good sign. And there's a little bit of congestion here. It failed out the top, failed out the bottom, and we traded up into this, so it kind of went higher from there. And once it starts going higher, you're looking for a second leg. So I would have been looking for a measured leg up here. I don't think we quite got it, but that's what I would be looking for. And you see we did come up short. And that's another thing. When you started making lower highs and lower lows without getting up there, that's a good indication that there's strong resistance here. And we could go, a little further in the other direction as well. You should go at least to the other side or test the lows on the move down, because we didn't quite make that high. And that wasn't obvious, though, until you made this second entry long here that failed and turned down very bearish. Okay, so many interruptions, I almost want to just stop and start over again. I think we're still on trade one here. Anyway, nice long here. Hopefully you see, this is why I'm always telling you, you gotta, just because there's a second entry doesn't mean you go long. You're not looking for a second entry here. You really were looking for it to happen down here, but you're at least looking for two legs. And if you look at there's leg one, and then there's leg two, and they're almost a perfect measured move. There's maybe one tick difference there. But there's a failed break lower. There's the EMA. The bounce off the EMA is two legs back. And on a bigger picture, this is a second entry long, because there's one leg, and then there's really a little two-legged correction, then your second leg down, and then a second entry long. So I hope that makes sense. But and it takes time to be able to see that. So if you don't see that, don't sweat it. That's it takes time to see this. It doesn't show up overnight. You can't do this, learn this overnight. It takes time and experience. So actually, this is a little lower, slide right across there. And then you have the move down, and again, you get a second entry long. But look at that signal bar. Not a very good signal bar. There's no bounce off the EMA. You should be seeing prices bounce here to some degree. Look at that rejection off the EMA. Look how this did. Notice how there's a little bouncing off the EMA there. Notice over here how it bounced a few times. Still went lower, but generally on a good trend, you should see some bounce. There's no bounce there at all. It just goes straight through it. It closes below it twice, and then it tries to bounce, but you got to wait. The main thing is there's no break of that trend line. Now, if you'd have got a big reversal bar off this that went straight through, maybe, but the way this looks, there's no reason to go long. So you don't know you're going to get a short trap here. That's what people always, how'd you know you're going to get, I don't know. The thing is, I know I'm not going long right there, and so if it does go up here and I get a trap, I'm just going to put my stop right there, and if it breaks below it, it was a trap and I'm in it. If it doesn't, it'll go higher and there's no harm done. Maybe I miss a long because I'm playing it safe, but I'd rather miss a long than get trapped and watch it shoot down like this and me get stopped out. So I just sit tight. So that's how I know that I don't know that there's a trap. I just know there's no long, so I'm not doing anything. And by doing that, when this went higher and then closed down here on it, almost back on its low, you just drop a stop right there and say, okay, notice the new high, first entry long, pull back, second entry long. And most of these traps, especially after two legs up, you're probably going to get another leg down that's similar to that whole move right there. And you actually get a whole lot more. But just put your stop there and watch it go. Nice trade, nice easy trade. But that's how that works. And I'm going to do a lesson on that. So I've had a couple of people ask me about lessons on traps, and we'll do one. But so you're heading lower and you're still in this channel, and you come back and you go higher. This is like a two-legged correction right here. Notice the new low, first leg up, pull back, second leg up, but it can't get above the trend line, and you get another bearish bar. And this line would have been down here at that point. Look at this. It tries to go up again, and then you get this. Look at that bar. I would have liked it even better if it would have broke higher there first, but it didn't. But that's still right off that trend line. Just put a stop right there. You got enough room, and it goes even further. So that's like a two-legged correction. If you went to a smaller chart, you'd see a clear two legs there and a second entry short. Well, it is a second entry short for that matter. Notice the move up, first entry, pull back, second entry. So I hope that's clear to you. This one's a little more aggressive. This is your first break. There's a bounce off that low. There's a chance this could keep working up, but we didn't have a retest yet, and that's a pretty good little move down. So aggressive trader might take that, thinking they could at least get a scalp out. Of course, you could have got a little more than a scalp, but I'm not too crazy about that trade. I don't really like it. If you draw a short-term trend line here, you can probably get, you use those closes, you know, you probably can look at it like it closed right here, but it's just not a very good setup. It's probably not even that steep, really. It's probably more like that. And so I would have preferred to see it close lower, try to go higher, and then go down. But by the rules, you are looking for a retest of the low. So somebody really aggressive might want to take that trade. I don't like it, so I'll leave it at that. And then you got your low here. You really got a double bottom with that little one tick trap. An aggressive guy might have even gone long there, but I don't think you go long right there because this thing could have just kept going. And but you get this little break lower, and then you get the double bottom. So now you've retested this double bottom two more times. You know the rule of twos. It breaks higher. I would have waited. I wouldn't have gone. I don't think I would have wanted to go long above the red but when it broke higher, I would have dropped a limit order, or I would have waited on this one to close and see if it closed high, and then maybe put a stop right there. But I like using a limit order. Actually, if it closed here and broke high, I'd still would probably try to get a limit order a tick or so back in, but you could have gotten filled on this thing all the way back a tick into the red bar. But either way, I like going long there, and you could just go long on a stop. It's a little bit more aggressive. First, you go higher, you get one pullback. This kind of sets the trend line. It fits off both sides. You move up. And this one needs a little explaining. This is basically the same thing. Notice the new low here, first entry short pullback. This tried to go lower here, and it couldn't get close outside the trend line, and it couldn't get below that bar because it was right along the trend line. So people were coming back in and buying right there that recognize what's going on. And but it's like a failed second entry short because it's a second attempt to try to go lower, and the only reason it didn't go lower is because the trend line's holding. So I like going long right there. There's plenty of room back up to the high, and that's your first target because look, you know, this is looking like a trading range, and so you don't know that it's going to turn down here. It could just keep going higher, just kind of like it did here earlier. It went a little higher before it turned down, and it may not be done going higher yet. But I'm going to talk about that too, hopefully, if I got enough time. We're 23 minutes into this thing, and I'm just now on this trade right here. I don't think you want to go short right there. There's been no close outside the line, so that's your first entry. But then you can see this. You get this trend line working down through here, and you get a move above it. I like going short right there. Again, you don't get a lot of bounce off that EMA, and when it turned down here, that and didn't bounce off the EMA, that pretty much sets it up as probably being a trading range day. And I really thought we'd go all the way to the lows. Quick, easy scalp, but that's all you got out of it. And then you kind of overshot the little channel, then you overshot it to the upside. And notice you tried to go lower twice, and so that set a new low. And so I like that that's a little two-legged correction. It's the little rule of twos testing that low. Rule of twos. Hopefully that's what I said just then. And it took a little while, but this one worked out. And I just don't. From then on, it's getting too close. You know, it's too choppy. There's not much happening. I think you just have to sit tight. And this is getting too close into the FOMC stuff. And you just sit tight and wait till this is over. This triggered up here. All this stuff happened fairly quickly, and then you get this little bounce down here. You see it tried to go lower once, tried it again, and at this point you can kind of see that there's a little, this is acting as support and resistance. Prices are playing both sides of the line, and that's where it bounces. And you get first entry pullback, and you get a second entry long right there. You got two legs down. This is a two-legged move. It's a proven range day. Just go long right there. And again, you don't know that it's going to go straight up. You can see that shorter term line I've got working there. It's a little harder to see probably. You get a close outside it, move to a new high, and then you get the correction, and then it started higher again. And this what was acting as resistance is trying to act as support. And you'll hear me say this, prices could end up back inside this channel, or it wouldn't surprise me if we don't go higher and try to make a retest. And but somebody will take that and say that, he's just guessing. He don't have any idea. Well, I'm not guessing, but I really don't have any idea where it's going. But if you follow the price action, you will know where it's going. And that's what I'm telling you. Draw your short-term trend lines and stuff and follow them. If you start getting a trend back inside, play it. If you continue, if you get the little trap here and it goes higher, play it. It's too late in the day to do it now, but if it weren't, you play it. So the price action is what tells you where to go. I don't know where prices are going to be an hour from now. I have no idea. But the price action will take me there, and I can go with it. So I hope that makes sense, because that's where people are really missing things. People that make comments like that are really missing the boat. That's the whole idea behind learning price action, is that it takes you where you need to go. You don't know where it's going. I mean, a lot of times I will call a measured move or something, and it can hit it to the tick. But it doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen, because the price action can change before it gets here. Once this moved here and started going higher, the first thing I would do is I'm going to have a measured move. I'm going to measure this first move. And if we go higher, that's going to be my target. But we may not ever go up there. So I don't know for a fact that it's going there, but I can tell you how many times I watch it go exactly to that tick or within a tick or two, and then that's where it ends up. And it looks like that's what it's trying to do. Notice this low. We tested it once. We tested it twice. And it's a little bit of a trading range, congestion, so you trade it like a trading range. I don't know if I'd go long there or not. It's just, you had a second entry long there. I think I would just wait and see if it doesn't break up and pull back and then go higher. But you got enough reason right here that if it wasn't so late in the day, you might just risk this and go long right there. Because, I mean, you've hit your rule of two right here. It's just not, and here we go. We'll just watch it a second and see what happens. We'll see what happens. But you can see there's strong resistance right there. This is like a little congestion area, which is nothing more than a little trading range. And you can draw your lines on both sides. And that's how I would do it and play that. But it wouldn't, right now, I would look for this to try to work higher unless it breaks out this side and fails and then comes down. So, but you can see it's still moving higher. So I hope that's clear, but make sure you understand that nobody knows exactly where prices are going longer term. You can have ideas and you can be consistently right in where it's going, but the price action can change at any time, and so that's why we use the price action. That's the whole idea behind what we do. The price action tells us what to do. It's not that we know prices are going here and that's where they're going. There's things that are telling us that that's where prices are likely to go. And look at it, it's still going. Still going, and that was the rule of two right there. Will we come back and test the high here before we go up? It may not, but that's the risk you take sometimes by saying, okay, I'm going to wait and see if we get a better entry. Sometimes you don't get a better entry and you just have to watch it go without you. That's part of the game. But what happens is, the smart traders do not let that bother them. They know that they're going to miss some trades, and they know they're going to have some winners and some losers, and they just take whatever will give them. It's the ones that get too excited about it that make the mistake. So, but anyway, that's pretty much it for today. Fairly straightforward day in the end. Until we got in here, and then again it bounces right where you would expect it to kind of bounce here. It gives you a little trap, 2 legs down. Let's just measure those real quick and see how close they are to a measured leg. Betting they're real close, if not exact. There's leg 1, and then there's leg 2, and you can see it's a perfect measured move from the high down to the next leg, and there's 2 legs in between. I can show you this stuff over and over and over. and people will still say it doesn't work. But it's just because they don't understand it and they don't really, and it's not something you can just pick up and do for a few days or even a few weeks. And you can start to get some understanding of it, but until you've put in the time and got the screen time and just lots of experience, and that was one other thing I want to add, then I'm going to close, is that, you hear me say a lot of things over and over and over consistently. And then there's other things that I may not say very often, or you may not hear me say very often. But one of them that you probably hadn't heard me say very often is because I've had to learn this myself, is that I still, even though once you learn this and you get pretty good at it, it doesn't mean you're at the pinnacle yet. I still learn more every day. And the only reason I can say that now is that the more you do this, the better you will get, is because I've experienced it now. I've been doing this for many years, and I still get better every day. I know that's hard to believe. And there's many people that'll cry foul and cry BS. But I'm just telling you, I still get better every day. And it's amazing. It's just experience. It's just like anything. If you do it over and over and over every day, if you've got an aptitude for it or a skill set for it, you're going to get better at it. And so trust me when I tell you that you can get better. You can get better than you will ever imagine it doing at this. And that may seem, you may be a long way from that. And that may seem unachievable, but you got to believe it to get there. So I hope I didn't bore everybody with that conversation at the beginning and then following up with that at the end. But I think it's real important to tell people that, um, if you really want to make it in this, there's nobody stopping you. It's doable. Don't listen to the naysayers. Do your own thing, be your own person, and put in the hard work and the effort. And that might mean years. So understand that. I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm not misleading you. It may take you years. It took me years. I didn't learn this overnight. Trust me, it's not easy. It's difficult. But it gets easier every day. Once you got to get that grasp on it, and then you got to get through. Even once you learn it, you got to get through the mental aspect that I talked about as well. And that's part of believing that it can be done. And I'm sorry I'm still talking about this. But one other thing that I've failed to talk about lately is notice where prices bounced across here around 1960. And I want to make sure I point this out. After the sell-off yesterday, once it kind of went into this range, this was the resistance area across here. And it's hard to see that, but if you drag this line, look where that line is. That's where I would call most of that resistance, 1960. And so look where the important spot was today, 1960. So I probably haven't talked about that enough lately, and the reason I say that is because some people that have followed me for a long time brought it up, that, hey, you used to talk about that all the time. And it's not that I don't want to, I tend to get away from it maybe and not realize I'm not talking about it. But understand that the previous day's important areas are likely to be, and look where, let's just look at something else here. These were the lows yesterday. So this was support. So now it's probably acting as resistance. And look where we're finding resistance. Look where this resistance was. We found this resistance at 65 or so. Let's see what was at 65 yesterday. Not much happening right there. This is the more important area, and that's where we're at right now. And then, so remember, and there's some more important resistance here in the 74. So if we get there tomorrow, that's an area to pay attention to. You really don't have to have that. It's the price action tells you early on you might have needed it here, but you still don't know until it starts bouncing here. But once you start noticing that bouncing there, a lot of times, and that kind of being what I call the support and resistance break area, everything above that's mostly support, and everything below it is mostly resistance. And if you get to looking, that was where we found resistance all day yesterday for the most part in the afternoon. And you can see it right across there. So I hope that helps a little bit too, and I'll try to remember to talk about that. But previous days support and resistance areas are important, um, and so you can't ignore them. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.